What's up, everybody? James Duggan here with IGN Access. Joining me is Max Scoville. You had questions about Ubisoft's press conference, and I've recruited Max to hopefully answer them for you. And you hit us up on Twitter. And my favorite one, straight out of the gate, which is the one he did last year, Yusuf just said, no question mark, no South Park, but he just says fractured butthole. What do you think?
I think it's very likely that we're going to see more about fractured butthole. I'm excited for them to release this game, so we stopped doing that awkward pause immediately after saying the name of the title. But
sure.
Yeah, this has been kind of dragged on for a minute. Wasn't this supposed to come out at the beginning of this year? Like I
believe so.
Yeah, it's been a minute. This was delayed quite a bit. I know people loved the first one, and expectations are pretty high. But it's a pretty known quantity. It's South Park.
Right.
So I think we'll probably see maybe a new demo of that, but I imagine they're also trying to kind of just shoo it out the door.
Donovan would like to know about Far Cry 5. This is a series that I was initially very interested in. Far Cry 2 I really loved. Far Cry 3 I liked, and then it kind of tapered off and I kind of lost the narrative. But what do you think about this one?
Well, I think they kind of lost the narrative too. This is kind of an odd one. I feel like they go between sort of there are the tentpole Far Cries, which are like 2, 3, 4. And then, if there's not a number there, it's kind of them messing around, having a good time. This one, they're taking the series to Montana. There's obviously this religious militant cult going on. I love the series. I think, especially after kind of how kind of samey it's felt over the past few years, I really hope that they do a few things to shake it up rather than just a new setting. Obviously, with Far Cry 3, they kind of took the mechanics of 2 and overhauled them, and that was very exciting and fun. Far Cry 3 is one of my favorite games ever. Blood Dragon took the mechanics of 3 and gave them this weird kind of 80s overhaul, and that was like, okay, that's fine. You got weird with it. I'll approve of that. Far Cry 4, I kind of gave a pass on being more of the same because it was the first one on current consoles. And then Primal was like, okay, you're doing weird caveman stuff, but this is the first numbered entry in the series that's on current gen, and they've had a chance to really feel out what they're doing. So either give me something that's just beautiful aesthetically and just huge and wide open, or give me something that shakes things up mechanically a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see what happens with the story, but at the very least, farm animals, which means farm crimes.
Farm crimes.
Yep.
The worst kind of crimes. I'm really excited about the multiplayer for this game. The co-op. Far Cry 4 had some very fun co-op.
Yeah.
And a lot of interesting interaction, like the 2-player helicopter. I would like to see a lot more of that. And to your point, talking about Far Cry Primal, that was a very far away narrative. So that you'd think that was completely different gameplay-wise, but it kind of fell into the same thing. So I really hope that they do re-examine kind of the gameplay motifs and figure out what they need to do to bring this into the space where we're all excited for it.
Yeah, everyone jokes about Ubisoft having the same gimmicks of like, oh, it's a radio tower or a bird's nest or whatever. You got to climb it, and then you unlock the map, and then there's things to go find and stuff to collect, and it's sort of like, okay, we get it, but like, what's at the core there? What's the new fun thing? So maybe there's some new take on outposts or. I don't know,
Sure.
I hope they bring something new to the table.
Sure. All right, let's move on. Both Steve and Robin would like to know about a new Splinter Cell, the possibility there. What would you like to see from a series like that?
Oh, man, that's a tough one. The Tom Clancy series, just the brand does really well. Ghost Recon Wildlands was one of the best-selling games of the year so far, and still is. I don't know what's going on with Splinter Cell. I don't know if they're going to kind of put that one back in the oven. The last one was Blacklist, I believe, which was kind of, talking to the point of Ubisoft making things very samey, that was using sort of a wide linear approach where they were sort of taking the, go quiet, go loud mechanics of Far Cry and putting that into what's typically been more of a stealth game.
Sure.
And then before that was, what was it?
Conviction. Conviction,
and that was sort of the stripped down Casino Royale approach where you're just kind of back to basics.
Very narrative heavy. I wonder if there's a re-examination that needs to take place from that series from a gameplay perspective, because you look at things like the current Hitman, which is coming out episodically, which is a very really fun stealth game. And then we saw Metal Gear Solid 5.
Yep.
And that kind of makes the previous Splinter Cells look a little bit dated, so I hope to see something updated there.
Yeah, Sam Fisher's a character. He exists out there. As far as getting new people attracted to the franchise, this might be an opportunity for like a, hard reboot. Maybe they take the Hitman approach and just say, Splinter Cell. Brand new. Go for it.
Sure. I would love that. All right. Jose Manuel would like to know about Assassin's Creed Origins, a new Prince of Persia. So we're going to have to tackle these one at a time. And then to kind of tie into Assassin's Creed Origins, this is something that I'm really excited for and love to see from Ubisoft, a new Pirates game, like Assassin's Creed for Black Flag. That game was so successful and the boating mechanic was so successful. What do you think they're going to do with that? Or have they just forgotten it?
We've been hearing rumblings for a while now about Ubisoft making a dedicated pirates and boats game, because pretty much everyone went away from Black Flag being like, this is the best Assassin's Creed since 2, which is what people say pretty much all the time. But really, everyone kind of loved the boat mechanics, which were sort of like, M-rated Wind Waker, but with proper nautical combat.
Combat, yeah, and progression and legendary ships and all these interesting things.
Yeah, and they tinkered with that a little bit in, what was it, Rogue, I think? Was that the last one that came out for last gen? But then, yeah, I wonder if they're just kind of breaking that off from the main Assassin's Creed franchise and doing something special with it. I'd like to see that. I'm not a huge fan of pirates, but I know that some people are. And then, of course, we've got sort of Sea of Thieves coming out soon from Rare. So maybe we're going to see like sort of a pirate renaissance. But yeah, on the subject of Assassin's Creed, it's in Egypt. They've shown a T-shirt. Yeah, so we've gotten the usual Ubisoft leaks. I do love that it's a series about just secret warring factions and just covert stuff and things that are just deeply buried under secret societies, and it leaks every time, like every time.
The irony. That is good.
I like that they've left this one in the oven for 2 years, giving it a nice break from that usual kind of annualized thing, and I hope that they have something just really impressive to show for it.
Sure.
On account of this, I've kind of dabbled in Assassin's Creed, but I feel like every time I'm like, all right, I'll give this one a proper shot. I get burned, and then I'm kind of turned off the series for a couple years.
Yes, yeah, I've had a similar experience, but hopefully maybe ships make their way back in or something else as interesting gameplay-wise. All right, so let's just talk about everything all together and anything else that we haven't talked about yet. They released this kind of cryptic trailer where they showed kind of the intro of their conference, but there was a bunch of redacted footage in there. It was kind of weird, but what do you think those conference exclusives are?
Well, we've seen a nice leak of Mario crossed with the Rabbids. Obviously, Ubisoft is known for just bringing a lot of launch titles to platforms, and I don't know if they maybe just kind of pulled back from that approach after putting a bunch of games on the Vita and the Wii U. But there's this thing called the Switch, and we haven't seen a ton of games from Ubisoft in that area. Except for that Rabbids one that leaked, which looks a little bit weird. I hope that they show off something special. It'd be really cool if they announced a nice Rayman game to go on Switch. I know that people, love platformers on Nintendo, and it makes a lot of sense.
Those have been fantastic.
And then what else we got? Oh, there's the Crew. There's a nice car back there.
The Crew.
The Crew 2 was announced. I mean, I imagine more of the same. They might do something exciting to shake things up. I love how Ubisoft, we always talk about the big sort of AAA stuff, and then we are just kind of always sort of blindsided by something related to Trackmania or Jetmania or Lootmania, whatever they're calling it. Something like that, maybe. I hope they do one of those wonderful, and just one more things at the end of the conference and reveal something that we have no idea about.
Sure.
Kind of like they did with Ghost Recon Wildlands. I think Watch Dogs was like that, where it's just like, hey, here's a big chunk of stuff you had no idea about. And then we're all like, what is that? And then, ideally, they do that, but it comes out within 3 years from them announcing it.
All right, so a lot to look forward to if Max Scoville's expert synopsis is anything to go off of. If you would like to see more of what is potentially going to be at the Sony, the Microsoft, or the Bethesda conference, you can keep it right here on IGN Access. And for all things E3, you're already in the right place at IGN.